So I'm coaching a client through Epic, or I just finished coaching her, and we did the deal. I want to tell you how I coached her through doing it, and I'd love you to show me all the things I missed. And I think for everybody watching this could be really valuable because, I'm one of the coaches in Epic, and, ultimately this was a doctor. She made a testimonial today for us. She wanted to buy a practice in Orange County. And obviously, I'm not going to go into too many details, NDA and what have you, but she wants to buy a practice in Orange County. And there was a price listed. If I remember rightly, I think they were asking 350,000. Let's say that number because I'm going.
How much? 350.
350K.
Okay.
So they wanted 350K, and she wanted to buy it for zero out of pocket.
Mm-hmm.
There were two. There was a doctor that worked within the practice who was not an owner. He was just an employee of the practice, but he was a doctor. And he had always wanted to own his own practice. So essentially it was, I came up with the idea of the integrator purchase. So in the medical field, there is a loan that is available to doctors apparently to buy a practice that he hadn't used. Oh, I know where this is going. I love this. And so there was a loan that he hadn't used. So the situation that we came up with was they were open to seller financing, and so we went in. She did a 40-60 with the other doctor, and this was my proposal. It was a 40-60 with the other doctor, the one that worked there, and he would take a loan to give her the cash, which would buy him 40%, which he paid in cash from the loan. And then she used his cash as the down payment on the business, and then was negotiating for terms to do the repayments starting. We pushed for 60 days afterwards. I'm not sure exactly how it ended up, but we pushed for 60 days afterwards. So that way she essentially leveraged the loan from the doctor that was working there to actually fund the cash so she could get in and tidy it up. And she already had other practices in the nearby areas so that she knew she could help it grow and scale. So that's what I came up with. But I would love to see how you would have done that. And other things that I missed, essentially.
Okay, so it was a 350 purchase price, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
so,
then,
and somebody's asking me to repeat it, so I'll say it again. So it was a $350,000.
I'm going to ask you because I was trying to get connected. So yeah,
that's okay.
do.
So $350,000 purchase price for the practice from the current sole owner.
Yep.
He essentially agreed to owner financing. There was a doctor that worked in the practice, and he was
Tell me about the seller financing.
He just said he was open to owner financing. That was where we were when the question came to me.
Okay.
So open to it. No details, just open to it. But there was a doctor that worked in the practice, and she was wondering whether she should keep him on as an employee or not. And so I recommended reaching out to him to see if he would be interested in becoming a co-partner. And so she offered him, I believe, 40%. It was what I suggested. Again, I'm not sure what the actual percentage was in the end, but I suggested 40% that he would buy, and he got a loan because there is a medical loan apparently available for doctors to buy practices that's like very preferential rates. And so he gave her the cash from that loan to buy in.
How much was that?
I don't remember exactly how much because I was coaching on how to do it, and then she went away and did it after.
Give me a rough number just of what you think it was.
So it would have been 40% of the 350K.
Okay.
Because he got the full cash for the amount. So what's that? 740,000. Yep. So he paid 140 to her, and then she used that to fund a purchase with a 40% down, and then was pushing for negotiated terms that would kick in 60 days later. And that gave her 60 days to get in and start turning it around so that she could pay back the owner on the owner finance.
Okay. Do we know the amount of the owner finance?
It was for the remaining 60%. So the minus of the 140.
So 210?
210, yeah.
Okay. So the deal that you believe she did was she sold 40% for 140, which the doctor got as a loan, and then the remaining amount was done through owner finance?
Yep.
Okay.
But what did I miss? What else was there? Because she was very happy. Obviously, she gave a testimonial, and we haven't had a follow-up call, so I don't know exactly what the final deal was. But But I know this was part of her strategy because she wanted to acquire a number of these practices. But I also know that, to me, and this is my superpower and my biggest weakness. My superpower is I see the out of the box deal that I know works, and I calculate. I'm like, okay, this is good, but I know I miss things because I know that as we saw earlier, your due diligence is out of this world. So what else could have done?
So we use the symbol pi for profit, just so you guys know. What's the profit on that 350?
The profit on the 350 to her?
No, you said it was a $350,000 purchase price. What are sales in that business?
Oh, good question. So it was struggling. I don't remember the exact number offhand, unfortunately. It was a couple of weeks ago, so I don't remember exactly. But it was struggling. It was not breaking even. Honestly, I couldn't. I know that the 350 worked out about fair based on EBITDA at the time because we looked over it. So she wasn't paying over the top on the multiple.
So I'll reverse engineer that then. What was the multiple, or roughly what was it?
Yeah, the multiple I think was 3.5.
Okay, so if we divide the 350 by 3.5, then we magically know that it was making about 100,000 in profit.
Sounds about right. Yep, sounds about right.
Okay, so then, so she bought it at 3.5 and she sold it at 3.5. So I guess the few places, let's assume that we had to pay the 350. Then the very first thing I would do is say, because it's a medical practice, it should have accounts receivable, particularly from insurance companies. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I'd want to think about was what is the accounts receivable, and then I'd want to think about what are the physical assets. So that's going to be a question mark for me, and so that extends to examination equipment, examination tables, tools, medical devices, anything that might be in that practice, I would be curious about as well. But I mean, we can't do the deal any better than you did because there's no money out of pocket unless we go to put money actually in her pocket. So one of the things that this deal would definitely be worth looking at would be that you could probably pick up about 280 in SBA financing. So I'd also look at a PPP loan on that if the business didn't have that, and also an EIDL loan for a disaster loan. Those would be two things that business might be able to qualify for, and those deals are being funded super fast right now, by the way.
It definitely would. That's a really key point because it was struggling and COVID just sent it over.
Yeah, so it would be perfect. And keep in mind that the EIDL loan is I think it's 3.5% with a 30-year payback, and the PPP is basically going to be forgiven. So that's free money. So I'd be looking at that. I think that I would look also at maybe a valuation spread here for the doc. I'm going to change the color so that I can not have that lost. I'd probably look here at, maybe I would sell 20% at a different valuation. Get this the right one. So at a higher valuation to that person. If they're able to do that for a loan, though, I would also be kind of curious as to what other medical loans might be available to the person who's acquiring. Now, is she a physician?
She is, yeah.
Okay, so then I'd be curious if that loan is available to her, then I'd have her do that loan in her SPV. I don't know if it's a personal guarantee or not. And then I would consider selling less to the doctor because I'd want to keep a little bit more of it. Or she could get that loan and take the loan for the doctor and do the seller financing, and then she would be able to put 140 in her pocket cash or have that to operate. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. See, this like, if anyone wonders why I love Roland Frasier, I just want to show you. Here's me. Look at this. This person bought a business for no money out of pocket. Yay. And Roland's like, she could have had 140 grand in her pocket.
Yeah.
But that's why I love learning. That's why this is so fun. I love doing these exercises with you. This is so useful.
So I then go through all of those other things. The other thing that I'd be curious about is, did we negotiate with the seller and come to the point where the seller was only willing to finance 60%, or did we know we had the loan and the investment from the doctor and therefore we only ask for 60%?
Yeah, that is exactly how it went down. It was once we found it, we were like, went for it. So
okay. So see, I would start at 80% financing, because then again, you might have been able to pick up an extra 140K in seller financing at 80% instead of 60, right?
Yep.
And then what I like to do instead of 60%, then what I like to do is go back, and I didn't talk about this, so just for you guys that are on this call, one of the coolest things that you can do when you do seller financing is you can do the double tap. Now, the double tap is that you've now got, let's say that we were able to get let's say we were able to get 80% financing on this, and you could still do it. She could still go back and do this. But if we were able to get 80% financing, that would have been 360. That would have been, my multiplication tables correctly here. So 0.8 times 350,000 would be 280. So if we had 280,000 seller finance at 80%, and then you went out and got the loan from the doctor, and the loan from the doctor or the investment from the doctor was 140. Let's say we did it that way, or even that she went out and got her own loan for 140. Well, now we've got 420,000 in available cash. I call that FAFU, which is funds available for use. So we have 420,000. We only need 360 to do the whole deal. So we've got an extra 60K here. So what I'd probably do at that point is knowing that I've got an extra 60K, I'd do the deal with the seller to finance that 280, and then I'd go back to the seller maybe as soon as 30 days after it's done, and I would offer, I'd say, listen, and maybe then I'd go to the doctor also, because this would all be done.
Oh my God, this is so good. I just had a revelation. God, so good.
This would all be done with her money. So then I'd go to the doctor and say, and I would obviously try the value, but I'd go back to the doctor and say, listen, I've got the opportunity for you to invest in this at a 5x multiple. And so if I could get the doctor at a 5x multiple, I could basically give them a little less than 30%, but let's say 30% for that 140, just for ease of numbers. So I've saved 10%. I own 10% more now. Give the doctor 30%. I've got that extra 140 plus my 60. So 140K to doc for 30%. Now I've got 200K in cash. So I'm going to go back to the seller and I'm going to say, hey, I know that we've got financing over 5 years at 280,000, but I'll give you 200,000 right now today to take out that 80. Then I'd save myself the 80K. And I can tell you this happens about 80% of the time that people do this because they just want the cash today. So get that finance term.
Amazing.
Get that seller financing term out as long as you possibly can. And then go back in and double tap on that loan and say, hey, I can get 200K today to pay that off if you'd like to have that money today. And like I said, a way more than 50% of the time, I'm going to say it's in the 70, 80% range. They'll take that, and now you've saved that money. You've reduced the purchase price now at think about this. The purchase price was $350. So the purchase price was $350, and you are reducing the purchase price by $80,000. So if you say 80,000 divided by 350,000, by doing the double tap, you're saving about 23% on the purchase price right off the bat. So that would be some stuff I would do. There's probably a lot more. I just have to know. I have to get a couple more of the numbers that aren't available right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, dude, I knew it. I knew you'd find other stuff. This is awesome. Yeah, for anybody watching this, this is why, like, I say to everyone, like, you know, I'll always follow Roland and see what he does. Like, it's so worth it. It's like mind blowing to see this, man. That's incredible. One of my favorite questions just came up in the chat. It was from Kenneth Brown. And he said, but couldn't she be cash flow negative with the debt? And I'll tell you my response to it, Roland, then I'd love to hear yours. With the extra cash available to her initially put into marketing spend, advertising spend, it's going to drastically increase it. Plus, and this is a key element, she already had 4 other practices around California that were very, cash flow positive. So she knew what she was doing. This was a practice being run incorrectly. So she would bring her processes in to fix it. But, you know, again, I don't know what you'd say about that, Roland, but that's where my head would go.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there's, I think that there is, you have to think about the things that you want the deal to pay for itself. So we don't know what the financing deal was. Maybe the deal was, like, I've bought several businesses with 100% of the money on a 3-year balloon. So I didn't have to pay any of the money until the end of the 3 years. So I'm not going negative, because if I've got interest only on, and let's say that this deal, that the financing was 60%. So she only had debt in the deal of financing of $210,000. So let's be super generous and say that was financed at 6%, which would be about $1,000 a month. I mean, in that practice, it's profiting, remember, $100,000 a year. So if we put in debt at 6%, it would be $12,600 if it was interest only. Then that's really not, you're not going negative at all on that. And again, the idea of putting the money back, of having the maximum amount of cash available right now by doing a balloon financing would be to get the to have extra money to spend on marketing, as Adam said. But if I let me see, if I go to one second, let's see if we go here to a loan calculator.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, while Roland's doing this, I got a buddy of mine from out of town. He's just come to visit, and he's sitting in the room listening to this, and his brain is just being blown as he listens to it. It's really funny. It's like watching him in the background.
Let's see if this is one. I'm just doing this cold, so I don't know if this is going to be a calculator or a lie. But let's see. In that case, we were borrowing, what did I say, 210,000?
Mm-hmm.
That won't let me go to 50 on here. Okay, let me find a mortgage calculator, because that'll be better. So what I want to do is there's one right on the Googles. Okay, let me go back here. So I don't have to do that. So basically, see if they let me do, let's say that we were able to finance this over 10 years at 6% interest, which would be very doable, $210,000. That's going to be a $2,331 a month payment. Let's assume that, since they won't let us do it for less than 10, that was 5 years, or even 3, you would still be at, if this was 3 times as much, right? 2,331 times 3 is $6,993 a month. So speaking to whoever asked the question about wouldn't the business not be able to hold this, even if the payment was 3 times more, which would basically be about a 3.5-year amortization or 3.3-year amortization, you're talking about $6,993 a month against a profit of $8,333. So she's still ahead $1,340 a month positive cash flow without growing the business at all. So you just want to run those numbers and see, can the business support it based on the deal? And if it can't, then you either need to pay less money for the business, you need a better interest rate, or you need a longer period of repayment. And so those are your 3 variables to negotiate with the sellers to say, absolutely want to get you your price that you want. But I also have to, I'm looking at the financing on this, and you're not telling them you're trying to do a 0 out-of-pocket deal. Of course, please don't do that. But you're just running those numbers and saying, this is what it needs to be to work. So I can either pay you, maybe it's $320,000, or I can give you, if you do it for me at 0% interest, or maybe you're willing to go out an extra year to get the money back. But if you want your price, I can do that. It's just that you have to understand the law of price and terms. If I'm giving you your price, what you asked for, which is $350,000, then it's my terms on how I'm going to pay that. But if I get my terms, I could pay you more money, right? And Grant talked about this too, is like when you go into these deals and somebody wants a certain amount of money, maybe they want $350,000, and they want $350,000 up front. You might even be willing to give them $400,000 if they'll give you the terms that you want. So that's just not an issue for, who was it that asked that? Doodly-doo. Once in a lifetime deal. Adam, repeat that one more time. We did.
Yeah, it was Kenneth Brown.
Yeah. So Kenneth, it's just taking a look at those 3 variables and making sure that it'll work. But you can do quite a bit of financing, as you can see, and as long as the business has the profits and the cash flow to cover it, it's really not a problem. So cool. And then Darrell asked, is there a reason you wouldn't take the $200,000 to grow the practice and self-fund the 80 over 5 years? Yeah, that's an option. So you can slice and dice it any way that you want. Let's see. And Manjeet, basically negotiate the sales price, then you negotiate it again after you're the owner. Yeah, it's not that you're renegotiating the sales price after you're the owner. It's that you're renegotiating the financing. So here's the deal. There's the time value of money. Everybody understands that. Many times the sellers agreed to the deal and you've got your seller financing in place, you close the deal, and now the sellers decided that maybe they didn't want to retire, or maybe that business that they thought they wanted to buy, or that vacation they wanted to take, or that boat they wanted to buy, or whatever, cost more than they think. Or maybe they just like to, I was okay with the seller financing, but gosh, I sure would like to have that because I can go start this other business, which is very common. And so you're just going back to the seller and saying, hey, I actually, I appreciate you doing the financing. I was able to come up with a couple $100,000. So if you'd like that $200,000 today, then I'm happy to give it to you. I'm also happy to continue to pay you as we agreed. So you're not adjusting the sales price after. That is the effect of what you're doing because you're adjusting the financing. But it's the win-win is that it's completely up to the seller. It's just that if you've got extra money that you decide you'd rather get an instant return of $80,000 on, right? That's a pretty good return on that $200K. That's a 40% return. So if you think you can get a 40% return in 12 months on investing that $200K in the business, then I'd rather keep the financing and go invest that money in the business. But if you think, hey, I might be able to get a 12% return if I put $200K more into the business, I'd rather have the financing eliminated at a 40% return on my money, and then keep in mind that you now don't have those finance payments. So if we did that 3-year finance that we just did the math on, that'd be an extra $7,000 a month that I'd have to put into the marketing, and I'm not sure that I would need more than that to really have an impact on marketing for such a small business to start with. Not to mention, you can finance your marketing, and there's all kinds of other opportunities available. So great. That's great, Adam. I really like talking about that. That's really, I like that a lot.